Usually go to each other when we're struggling. Oh, I don't know if I did split the G with you. It's really filthy.
Can I say?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can I say? Can I say?
Yeah.
This is nuttier than a squirrel's holiday, isn't it? I mean, what is going through your brain, mister?
Oh, I don't know. Mostly drugs. No, I suppose it was a combination of loads of different themes and ideas that I wanted to explore, as well as trying to get home. And then when you bring in wonderful collaborators like Christina, it kind of elevates it to another level. And Paddy and Eileen and all of the wonderful Nick Murphy and all of these terrific writers, and it just seemed like kind of a graduation of Moonboy exploring a lot of different themes that we've met along the way.
It's brilliantly bonkers, isn't it? But like, do you ever have a sounding board where you have these ideas in the middle of the night, perhaps you have too much cheese, you write things down and you're like, how does this sound? What's the reaction from people around you?
Well, myself and Dawn were in lockdown at the time in Canada when I started writing it. And I don't know if we were going through the best phase of our marriage. So I dragged her to Canada to do a movie with the kids with us, and then they went into full lockdown. So it was a stay-at-home order for 5 months. And so I was kind of bouncing off the walls writing. And so I didn't have much of a sounding board, and I think that's why the ideas are a bit stranger, because nobody said, no, that's stupid. At some point, somebody was like, I think you should lose the cosmic stuff. I'm like, well, that's the show.
But you and Don told me, too, when you both write, you sort of don't necessarily tell each other in the time, because you don't want to have it dilute what you're thinking, and you share it maybe a little bit later.
We usually go to each other when we're struggling.
Oh, okay.
When we're like, this is garbage. What the f*** am I going to do with this?
Got it.
How do I make this novel come together? And all of that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll throw some ideas around then. But usually it's post-struggle.
So did Dawn say, oh, let's have some birds that fly out and fall from the sky, and let's have a dog that really scares Christina.
I think
But it all lends to the story. I mean,
does.
it's all these little clues that are, sort of all brewing and stirring up this sort of strange feeling in this small town.
Yeah, and what was your experience like of Ireland? Had you been much? Were you a bit worried about kind of entering the world of the Irish?
I wasn't worried at all. I was really excited. I had only been to Ireland for one long weekend. I had taken a holiday and I had heard of a beautiful place, Ashford Castle. I'd always wanted to go, and so I went for a few days. So that was my entire experience of Ireland, which was not. I was just plopped in a place and taken out. So I was really excited because I had spent a bunch of time in Scotland the year before, and I spent a lot of time in England, and I was like, I keep getting called back here. There's a reason, and I was just up for the journey. So yeah,
He's the reason.
Yeah, this time he was the reason.
How many G's did you split though? This is the question.
How many what?
G's was
I
split.
don't know if I did split the G with you.
What's that mean?
It's really filthy. No, splitting the G is you take it on a pint of
I'm
Guinness.
like, wow, okay. Interesting.
The cherry popper. On the Guinness logo on a pint of Guinness, you're supposed to take, it's supposed to be this, I don't know, inherent idea that you take a slug enough, big enough, that when you put it down, the creamy top is halfway through the G, and it's called splitting the G. But I don't know if we drank Guinness in the end. There was a lot of red wine drank, though.
Yeah, I don't think we ever had a Guinness.
I think G's all round after this press day today. And what about what you learned about each other's kind of cultures and where you're both from? Was there much that you picked up?
Well, I certainly was learning how he talked. I mean, we had a couple moments on set where he came up to me and he's like, I'm going to rewrite this line. Can you say, can I say that? Can I say?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can I say? Can I say?
Yeah, God.
He was like, can you say idiot? And I was like, gotcha, boss. Came down and I'm like, you idiot. And he's like, yeah, so can you say idiot? And I'm like, I was like, oh, like, and he was like, yeah, and I, you idiot, and he's like, could you? And I said, I thought that was just your accent. I didn't know you were asking me to say it like that. So there were some times where I didn't know if it was a note or just your kooky way of talking.
You sometimes forget that Egypt isn't commonplace around the rest of the world.
Well, it sounds like Egypt as well. Sometimes.
Yes.
I didn't know if he wanted me to try it with an accent or something. I was baffled, but we sorted it out.
How is your Irish?
Well, I didn't do an Irish accent.
But can you do one?
For what?
Now.
To what end?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I'm a bit of a parrot, so if I'm in a place for a long time, I can't help but try. I'm so I find other people's accents delicious, so I kind of like practice at home on my own, or I mumble under my breath trying to sort of get what they're doing because I'm just fascinated by it. But we did discuss early on whether we wanted her to have an accent or not, and
It works with that one. I think.
yeah,
I think so.
we decided
And
it
you were
could
called
be
delicious just then,
distracting.
Chris. How does that feel? That your accent's delicious.
I'll take it. It's been called loads of things.
And do you feel like this is like a journey that you've had since you've started out, where you feel like it really is you? You've created something that's totally and utterly yours, that you've always kind of aimed to do?
I don't know if I ever had the aim, but I certainly feel like we, for the most part, have been able to make the show that we wanted to try and make. And then you kind of, if you're smart and you're, just like if you're cooking in a kitchen and somebody suggests other little recipes and other things, oh, you should try a bit of this in it. And that's kind of the way I like to work anyway. But it does feel like it's very specifically my world, I guess, because it does deal with a lot of themes I'm interested in, and it truly features my hometown and all that vibe, I suppose.
It feels like Chris.
A little bit.
I mean, if
suppose.
you've watched Moon Boy and you've seen this and you've seen the projects he's working on, it's a wonderful thing to be able to look at a project and go, I bet that's Chris O'Dowd. Like, that's a very unique, and not very many people do that. So, come on. It's super Chris.
I guess it is. It's quite Chrissy, yeah.
Super Chris. You see a llama coming down from the space. That's Chris.
Yeah. That's O'Dowd.
That's an
It's got
alpaca.
O'Dowd all over it.
That's an alpaca, of course
Well,
it is.
they do all feel like every now and again I'll kind of bump against something and I'll go, God, I'd forgotten at some point, and the reason that's there is that outside my hometown, I was there a few weeks ago, I went to see my cousins and they still live out there and they're kind of very rural. But right opposite them is a big field with loads of alpacas in it. So having alpacas around is very normal for me, but somehow when you put it in the middle of a main street like that, it doesn't seem so.
With a spotlight.
Yes. And this looks kind of like that neighbourhood and all of those kind of things. It's strange.
But I'd want to watch that show with that guy looking at me and
Yeah.
that. That's a great poster.
Exactly, and it was fantastic. Thank you very much
Thank
indeed,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Cheers,
Thank
Lucy.
you.